Good evening, folks, and welcome to the final ARCA Racing podcast of 2022. I'm your host, Colby Evans, aka Starting Park Car on Twitter. And like I just mentioned, guys, it is the last ARCA race review of 2022. A little bit sad by it, but here we are. It's been a very fun season, and I'm happy to review this last West race with you guys for the season. I thank you all for joining me for tonight's show. Obviously, we still got to have the people filing in here as we move along here. And of course, we're going to talk about, of course, the last ARCA Series race of the season, the Desert Diamond Casino Valley 100 at Phoenix Raceway. A perfect track. It's kind of funny. We'll get into a little bit what I think about the track, but it's kind of weird. As much as I criticize maybe the NASCAR shouldn't go to Phoenix, I always feel like the ARCA West Series finale fits perfect at Phoenix. But we'll get into more of that in a second. Quick little intro, and then we'll get right into everything. You guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Starting Park Car on Twitter. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're at 566 subs right now. Can't thank you guys enough for your continued support, and look forward to increasing that number as we go on into the future. As of course, check out racingexperts.com for all ARCA NASCAR media content. Give my friends Brock Beard and NASCAR Man a follow, as they are great friends of the show. So let's get right into it now. All right. So yeah, the final West race of the season. Last year I gave the West Series the title of the best series. I think it was without a shadow of a doubt that in 2021, in terms of field sizes and competitive cars and competitive races, the West Series, without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, had the series covered. It beat the main series in terms of fun races, and it definitely beat the East Series. Now, this season was a little different. I will definitely say that the main series ARCA division was without a doubt the most fun to watch, with some great car counts and some just overall great racing. The West Series was good. I think the biggest problem for the West Series this season was the car counts. But again, I point that to the real world issues that are still happening right now with, prices and all that. I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about. I point a lot of that to a reason why some West teams just couldn't simply afford to show up every week. And so we got some pretty bad fields. I'm not going to deny it. From last year to this year, we did get some really small fields, with the smallest one being the second Portland race with just 13 cars. But the series itself, I felt like, recovered throughout the season. As much as we'd have our lowest points, we would have high points of cars. For instance, like Las Vegas, which was still a West Series standalone event, managing to get 26. So as much as we had our short fields of 15, 18, 13, we still had some 24, 21, 22, and 26 thrown in there. So it's not like we were just stuck with, small fields the entire season. We were just going to go through that patch, and I'm glad we didn't suffer through that through the whole season, and we're able to put on, I will still say, even though the main series, in my opinion, put on the best ARCA product for this season, I'll definitely say that the West Series was a very close, very, very close second place for the most entertaining series. And of course, the East Series, man, still don't know really what to say about that series. I want to see its success, but man, the COVID pandemic seriously hurt that. By the way, if you hear some dogs barking, my mom has one of her friends here, and she's got two loud, small dogs. So if you guys hear some barking, don't mind it. They bark at everything. But yeah, continuing on. The East Series, man, ever since, the pandemic started, I really feel like it's severely hurt the East Division. And with so many ARCA races already being on the East side, I can see why maybe it's just the advantage of running the main division over running the full East Division. But I definitely think we'll see some straight full-time East Series teams next year. I feel like as the years go on, maybe we'll see the East Series grow in terms of entries. But all I'll say is if the East Series is anything like this year, maybe we really should rethink it. But again, we're not here to talk about the East Series. We're here to talk about the West Series. Phoenix, like I said earlier, as much as I don't really like it for being the NASCAR finale, I feel like the ARCA West Series at Phoenix is a perfect finale. I don't know why. I know I would rather see the track maybe on a short track, but, on a big track like this, I think it really shows, man, who's out there to really prove themselves at a track like this. Because a track like Phoenix, I feel like really brings out the best in the West Series drivers. Because it's not just some short track where you're looking to just go, You know what I mean? On the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle. Like, no, you are on the throttle. You are on the gas. You are getting into that corner as good as you can. You cannot screw up that corner. It's a very, very hard racetrack for a lot of these rookies. And I feel like it really tests and it really shows who is the best of the West Series division. And I feel like the only unfortunate part about that is, as much as we all love the West Series drivers, what we've seen every time there's a combo race, these main series team organizations like Venerini, Gibbs, are just faster. I don't know if it's just because they have more technology at their hands or just overall more, I don't know how to call it, just more equipment in general, better equipment. But either way, it's just, you don't really get to see what these East teams are made of because they're always running in the mid-10s. I mean, the Sunrise Ford entries were running in the low 10s, pretty much the whole race. Todd Souza was running in the low top 10 the whole race. You can't really see what these guys and gals are made of because these main series organizations are coming over to run this race and then just demolishing the field. I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert in the race. The top 9, I believe, in top 7 in qualifying were all main series cars. Now, a couple of West Series cars were able to sneak up there by the end of the race, but it was clear that, once again, going into these races, that a West Series car was not going to win, and it was going to be a main series entry, unless something absolutely weird happened. But looking at the entry list so far for this race, we were looking at the entry list. It looked promising. It looked very promising. We had 31 cars entered. One withdrew, the 83 of Jalen Mack, never no-showed at the track. The 30 of Chris Loudon was kind of weird. I don't know if anyone was on site or heard. The 11 ran practice laps. Chris Loudon, it's not like the car never showed up. It did. It ran practice laps, but come race day, it was not there. I don't know if they had an engine failure or he crashed again because it's been kind of a rough couple races for Chris. But nonetheless, the 11 could not start the race, and we only had 29 of our 31 supposed starters start the race. Now, again, 29 is still not a bad field for the West Division, especially at a track like Phoenix. That's plenty of cars to put on a good show. The practice qualifying session that happened after the Truck Series practice qualifying session got pushed back late into the night because the Truck Series practice session had so many mechanical issues and crashes that they had to extend their practice session. So then that pushed back the ARCA practice session. So it was kind of funny. ARCA did all of their practice and qualifying at night, but raced in the heart of the day. So, for these drivers, you were definitely getting two different types of racetracks. Phoenix could not be any more different day or night. It is two completely different racetracks. Nonetheless, though, it was pretty self-explanatory. He was going to be up front. Sammy Smith obviously was going to be fast. I was questioning how competitive he was going to be in this race. Last year, he ran third to Ty Gibbs and Taylor Gray. So kind of figured that we were once again going to see some of the Taylor Gray and Sammy Smith show. But nonetheless, Sammy Smith would win the pole. Jesse Love in the 20 was second. Andres Perez Delar continues to impress in the 51, actually out-qualifying his teammate, Taylor Gray, who was in fourth. That is very impressive. And the second Venerini entry for 25 of Connor Jones was in fifth. Jake Finch was in sixth in the one. Carson Hocevar in an odd entry for Nice was in seventh. And then we had our first West Series main entry of eighth, Bradley Erickson. Definitely say I'm pretty shocked about how competitive Bradley Erickson is. This is a part-time entry out of one of the lesser-funded full-time West Series teams, Naki Kluwer Motorsports. So I'm definitely impressed. I think that should be highlighted, that a part-time car, not even a full-time West Series car, was able to qualify inside the top 10, and that West Series team is not even the best West Series team. So shout out to Bradley Erickson, and I really hope he gets more starts next season in this 84 car, because that, my friends, that's impressive. With the biggest stage of ARCA cars that are out there, and to be able to go that fast, definitely an impressive run. Sean Hingarani in the 04, also a very impressive run in ninth in one of the Eric Nascimento cars. Buddy Shepard was 10th. The other notable entries remaining in the field, Parker Chase and Landon Pembleton, the other two Venerini entries, were 11th and 12th. And the Sunrise Ford cars were really far back in 13th, Tanner Reff, and 15th for Jake Drew. The McAnally cars really struggled, with Landon Lewis down in 14th and Cole Moore all the way down in 21st. That was a shocker. That really was a shocker to see a entry like that far down the order. Notables at the bottom of the field. Like I said, Chris Loudon did make practice laps, but was slowest. Bobby Hillis, it was great to see him back. He was in a white car this weekend instead of his yellow or orange one. Bridget Burgess was 28th. David Smith was 27th. RJ Smotherman was 26th. And the only Andy Hillenberg entry in the field, the 0-1 of Zach Herron. So, yeah, we moved to the race itself come race day. You know, our man, ARCA PR director, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Charlie Crawl, was on commentary. Always does a good job, does Charlie. Race got going just after 1:30 on the East Coast, 12:30 for me on the 12:30 for me on the in the Midwest. And it was clear right out of the gate that we are in kind of for the same thing that we had back in 2021. Sammy Smith just pulls away, and there's nothing really the field could do. Sammy Smith got out to an early lead. Jesse Love would actually fall back through the field. It's not like they all just held their position. Sammy Smith, yes, would take the lead, but we did see a lot of jockeying for position. The 71 of Taylor Gray was able to get to second, and Andres was able to get up to third, and Jesse quickly dropped from second all the way down to fifth. And was being challenged by the other Venerini entries and Jake Finch for position. Now, by this point, all Jake Drew had to do was run a practice lap. So also by taking the green flag, Jake Drew had already locked up the championship. And it was also noted on the broadcast, and it really wasn't announced. You know, when I tweeted out that they had, we're not going to return next season, I literally found that out. That the Sunrise Ford Racing Team was not going to be returning in 2023 on the broadcast. So, and I tell you, man, that's just so sad. You know, that team has been around for so long. I remember back when they were used to run yellow numbers. Many people don't even remember they used to run yellow numbers, but they did. And their long-time commitment to Ford, you know, it sucks to see such a long series team go. And the one thing I really appreciated about that organization was, yeah, they hired pay drivers. They did from time to time. But a lot of the time, the Sunrise Ford team also hired drivers based off of pure talent. And Jake Drew, he doesn't bring a lot of sponsorship. Both years that he's driven for Sunrise Ford, he has not brought a lot of sponsorship. And, you know, and there's Bob Roncati just took a chance on him and realistically should have won 2 straight championships. But I think, you know, for the people who don't know, you know, Bob Roncati is getting up there in age. Bob Roncati is 79 years old. So he's getting up there in age. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's just there's a point in time to move on. Because all of Sunrise Ford Racing, you know, you look at their crew members, a lot of them are over the age of 50. I mean, this is not only an old team, these are a bunch of old guys. Yeah, Sunrise Ford Racing has some young crew members, and obviously their drivers are young, but a lot of Sunrise Ford is made up of older crew members who have been in the sport for a long time. And personally, I think that's one of the coolest aspects of this team. The fact that they've been around for so long, a lot of their crew members are over the age of 50, but look at where they are, still competing up front every single week in the West Series and winning races, dominating the season, 1-2 in the points, 1-2 in the Owners' Championship. Absolutely impressive. Is there any truth to the rumors that the Huddlestons could buy Sunrise Ford? I could see that because the 50 team, the old High Point Racing team that Dean Thompson ran last year, that team was run part-time this season by the Huddleston family. I could see the Huddlestons buying it, but I think I also saw something that Sunrise Ford Racing might be starting their own Bill McAnally Drivers Academy type deal, which I also think would work. I think the one thing that went wrong with the Bill McAnally Drivers Academy was just that it just wasn't the right time during COVID. It just didn't work during COVID. I think if you tried something like that now, I think the Bill McAnally Drivers Academy or like the Sunrise Ford Drivers Academy would work a lot better. But I don't know any truth to the rumors right now. I haven't heard any of that. I wouldn't expect something like that to be announced for a long time. When it comes to silly season news, unfortunately, the West Series is – we kind of find out when the entry list comes out. That's kind of how the West Series news works. Very rarely do we get those press releases, but I would expect something like that to happen. I wouldn't be shocked. I'll just say I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, going back to the race, obviously with the news about Sunrise Ford Racing, that kind of sucked. But yeah, the race had gotten underway, but quickly 5 laps in, we were already under caution. And for who else, I've been critical about him this season. Christian Rose. Christian Rose is a nice guy, but at the end of the day, man, he has been involved in so many incidents this season. I don't even know how to call it. He's been involved in so many incidents in the East Division, the West Division, the Main Division. I don't even know what to call him. I don't know what to say. A lot of the accidents haven't been his fault. A lot of them have been mechanical failures. But, man, when you look at the statistics of Christian's 2022 season, it's rough, man. And this is not a team that runs in the back. Bruce Cook Racing is a very, very solid top 10 caliber, and even probably top 5 with the right driver, top 5 caliber organization. So to see Christian bring up the caution early, honestly, was not a shock. It was also noted that even in these early 5 laps, cars like Carson Hocevar had actually come down pit road. He had to start at the rear of the race because they were, unapproved adjustments, and he had not made much progress and was actually talking about something possibly wrong with the car. Now, at that point, only 5 laps in, nobody went a lap down yet. And, of course, no starting parks in the race. All 29 cars that started this race were going to run the full distance. So we got back going green again. And it was kind of the same thing I saw in these restarts that we were seeing in 2021 with Ty Gibbs and Taylor Gray. Sammy would take the bottom, and Taylor would take the top. And you really saw Taylor, man. He would throw it into turn 1, absolutely throw it into turn 1, hoping it would stick, and it just couldn't stick. And it was kind of like that a lot of the race, where Sammy would pick the bottom, Taylor would pick the top, and he just couldn't get. Maybe Taylor could just get to his nose, but nope, Sammy would have him cleared. So they had that restart. Sammy got back ahead. Taylor got up to second. Andres was in third. At this point, Landon Pendleton actually impressively had driven all the way up from 12th into the top 5. Jake Finch was running 5th. Buddy Shepard was running 6th at the time until we had our next caution just 10 laps later, and it was the 40 of Carson Hocevar. Rough day at the track. Nice doesn't have many ARCA cars in their stable. And really, it was just kind of a disaster all weekend. Although practicing very well, it was just kind of a rough race from the start. Having to make unapproved adjustments. The car never really was very good. He only made up about 5 or 6 spots, and then literally just lost it off of turn 4, or I guess what was turn 4, now turn 2, and just killed the right rear of the car. Track bar mount was moved way over. You could see the tire sticking out, which is never a good sign. So that was it. And I will definitely say, Carson was definitely a fan favorite at the beginning of the season. And I'll definitely say he's definitely lost some fans due to the way he races and maybe some of the stuff he does to himself. I would be curious to see what he does in better equipment. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree Nice Motorsports is not exactly a winning organization yet. That's no dig at them. They're just not. You're not going to see them go up there and contend for wins every week. And I just wonder, man, at this point, will Hocevar ever win? And if he does, will people care? And again, that is no dig towards him, but with what a lot of the stuff that he did this season, and, the fact is, he's at the end of the day, sometimes he just doesn't run very good. You got to wonder, is it him or is it that truck? I don't really know how to call it this year. I can definitely say I've never really cared for Carson that much. I don't hate the guy by any means, but I've never been the biggest Carson fan. But, there's just inklings like this race where you see is it the car, or is it just Carson going too far with the car, like trying to push it too far? Because, you would see guys like Ross Chastain take the Nice equipment and go out there and win. He competed for the championship for it. And, there's Carson Hocevar. He's just not getting it done. He's just not. And the other three trucks, with all due respect, they're kind of a joke. The 40, the 45, and the 44, they hardly run in the top 20 most of the time. So, I don't know. I like Carson, but at the end of the day, he has lost a lot of respect. And he's so young. He's so young at the same time that in these situations, with not a lot of funding behind you, you can only go so far before teams are going to realize, I don't want to deal with that guy because I don't like the way he races, or I don't like it because he overdrives my equipment. Because I think that's another thing we're seeing. Carson tends to overdrive the 42 truck. I understand you want to get the most out of that truck. And like in this ARCA race, I understand you want to get the most out of that 40 car. But at the end of the day, I think Carson needs to realize he's in this race to gain extra experience. He's not out there to win. You're not going to win. There's no way Carson Hocevar in the Nice car was going to go up there and challenge Sammy Smith. It was no way possible that was going to happen. But in Carson's mind, he probably thinks he can. Is there an equipment difference between the other 42 trucks and the other three trucks? I'd have to believe so. Unless Lawless, Dean, and the 44 truck are just that bad of drivers, and I don't believe that. Lawless is a good driver. Contrary to what everyone believes, I think Lawless Allen and the right equipment could actually do a lot better. I just think he needs some more maturity. And same goes for Dean Thompson. He did very well in the High Point Racing team last season. I think both of those drivers could do better and better equipment. 44 truck, well, Chris Wright, we all kind of all know how that goes. But still, I don't know. I'm not trying to be so critical on Carson Hocevar, but at the same time, man, you just got to wonder, when is it going to stop? Realize the equipment you're in, get the most out of it without tearing it up. Because at the end of the day, Nice Motorsports, it's a team. They're not 100% heavily funded, and they can't afford a crash truck every week. But yeah, it is what it is. I've kind of said my piece about Carson Hocevar, but it's definitely interesting. When you look at Carson earlier this season to at the end of this truck season, like with this ARCA race, definitely does not have the fan base that he did. And I'm just afraid that when he does get that win, or if he ever does, I just don't think people will care. I don't think they will care as much. And they'll be like, oh, he finally got that one win. Okay, go get another. That's the problem with those kinds of drivers today. But yeah. So yeah, that was Carson Hocevar. Their day was done early. Again, no free pass here. That took us down to 28 cars. Got back going green immediately on the restart. We had another yellow. The 4 of Sebastian Arias went way too low into turn 1 and just overturned the car to the point where he spun himself out. I've seen that done before at Phoenix. It's very easy to do. So again, I'd say just a rookie mistake. We did have a free pass under this yellow. Bobby Hillis, they had been having some issues during the race. They were just trying to get the car back out. He was a lap down. They got the free pass. Shout out to Camping World, by the way. It was really nice seeing Camping World sponsoring the 27 car. Bobby actually running a red bannered car, which you don't usually see. But, when it comes to Bobby Hillis, got to love it. Got to love Bobby Hillis no matter what. But great seeing Camping World on the hood of the 27 car, giving a guy like Bobby some much needed sponsor money. And I would probably say is the only reason why he was allowed to go to that race. Because I know Bobby said it really just came down to money, whether he was going to show up to any races. And it's great to see that Camping World helped him out to the point where Bobby could get to the track. But yeah, it's kind of funny right now. The chat's just going hammer on Carson Hocevar. I don't know. I think Carson – what if Carson ever went to KBM? I think Carson would do better if he went to KBM. But, yeah, we've moved on from Carson. It was at this point, we were still realizing it was going to be the 18 and 71 show all over again, which I have no problem with. Taylor Gray and Sammy Smith, they're the future of this sport. They're the future of this sport. They put on great racing with each other. And I think it's great that we have feuds like this. Like, I don't know what you guys say to this, but I almost feel like that Taylor Gray and Sammy Smith is the next coming of Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs. Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs are the next feud. I know Ty's more than likely going to Cup. I don't know if we'll ever see Sam Mayer in Cup, but they were feuding for so long, back from the K&N days to their ARCA days to their Xfinity days. It was great racing between them. It was always hard. It was mostly clean. And I feel like that's the same thing that we're seeing here, where Taylor and Sammy, they race each other hard. Sometimes it gets ugly, but at the end of the day, they race each other, I feel like, with respect. And it's the one thing we got. The incident between them, we'll get to that in a second. But I like the fact that we have feuds like this that start in the ARCA Series and will build their way into trucks and will build their way into Xfinity. Now, Sammy is going to Xfinity more than likely next season. That's not been confirmed yet, but I would say that's a likely candidate for the 18 car. And Taylor will be driving the 17 full-time in trucks and part-time in the ARCA division. So we might not get to see that feud continue much next season, unfortunately. We ran another 13 laps. Again, no difference. The 71 of Taylor Gray did manage to actually lead a lap, but that was just coming to the restart. So, excuse me. Technically it counted, but also technically at the same time it didn't. Sammy Smith once again pulled out in front. Nothing Taylor could do. He tried to hang on that outside, but Sammy just cleared him. And by the time they got to turn 3, Sammy's already way too far away. Andres still doing a great job holding 3rd. Landon Pemberton solidly holding 4th. We did have some West guys actually starting to make their way into the field. Todd Souza, Landon Lewis, and Bradley Erickson were starting to hold up the bottom part of the top 10. The Sunrise Ford entries still not cracked the top 10 at this point. They were struggling through the field. And the second Cole Moore entry for Bill McAnally was still outside the top 20. So for some reason, that 99 car was just not hooked up for this race. It just wasn't. But yeah, moving on there, we had the 05 of David Smith. He spun around in turn 1. That gave the free pass to the 21 of RJ Smotherman. RJ's a cool guy. I love RJ. I'd love to get him on the show sometime. David Smith, good to see him back. He's kind of it's from the British Columbia, so it's good to have that international feel to the race. Kind of a older driver guy. Good to see him. Kind of a rookie, older guy, but he's also a rookie at the same time. So, I give him a pass when you spin around at Phoenix. Not an easy track. Got back going at green again on lap 50. This was credited as the halfway break. I believe the teams were only allowed to change the right side tires, which is fair. Although Phoenix does wear out, I think it's good because with the low payouts for this race, only giving these teams a chance to change right sides, I feel like evens up the playing field. So even the teams who couldn't even afford to buy the extra right sides can still somewhat be competitive. And I like that part about the ARCA West Series, is it really doesn't. They're not trying to separate the field as much. Bridget Burgess, yeah. I think she just weirded her tweet wrong. Bridget, I see some people in the chat talking about Bridget Burgess. I think it was just, she said our last race. I don't think she meant to say it was her last race of 2022, or else she would have specified it was. She would have overly specified that it was their last race altogether. I don't believe so. Burgess Racing has way too much sponsorship. HMH Construction and Gear Wrench are great sponsors of that team. They just got a second car ready. Sarah intends maybe to run another race, but they also intend to run more races in the future, maybe with a second car with a different driver. So there is no way I see that Burgess Racing is shutting down. If anything, they're going to expand. Sorry, again, if you can hear some family upstairs, we got some family events going on right now as I do my show. But yeah, Burgess Racing, I don't expect them to shut down at all. No, I don't expect it. Why would you expand to a second car and then shut down? No, they got too much sponsorship behind them. But yeah, of course, everyone pitted. Notables who were on pit road for a long time, the 20 team. It was noted, I haven't talked about Jesse Love. That car struggled. In the first 50-lap run until they came to the halfway break, That 20 car fell all the way from second place to ninth, which for a Venturini car is really unheard of in this day and age. So there was something way wrong with the car. And so they basically changed everything. Shocks, suspension setup, whatever they could change legally under that pit stop, they did, to the point where they went a lap down. The 5-minute break ended, and they actually went a lap down. So the key to them was to get the free pass. So yeah, and then we came to the next caution, and boy, I guess you say is all hell broke loose. Came off of turn 2, and the 71 got the best restart that he did. 71 got the best restart he did, cleared the 18, but in my opinion, he threw a block that he probably shouldn't have thrown, but that's Taylor Gray for you. I don't say he dumped him. I'm not going to say it. I think Sammy just didn't have any reaction time. Sammy didn't have any reaction time, and he got into the 71, turned him sideways, and took out the 25 with him. As for the wreck, for some reason they gave him a penalty. You could say what you want about the rough driving penalty. I don't think it was necessarily warranted. I've heard opinions on both sides, but if you want my honest opinion, I don't think the 18's penalty was deserved. I call that hard racing. I don't think he dumped the 71. I think the only thing is, had Taylor not thrown that block, I don't think he would have been able to clear him anyway, because Sammy still had a slight nose under him. I think it was just Taylor wanting to get the lead, because I do think if the 71 of Gray had been able to get the lead, I think he could have pulled away. I really do think he could have. But we'll just have to, that was just kind of up to the ARC officials, and that's how they did it. Sammy Smith would get a 1-lap penalty. Even Charlie Krall on commentary, he didn't 100% agree with the call, but that's the ARC officials. And he got a 1-lap penalty for it. And it really made you wonder, man, the 71 is done for the day. The 20 is still a lap down. And now the 18 is a lap down. Man, we really got a chance at somebody winning that maybe we didn't expect. We really had a chance. Maybe Andres could win. Maybe Landon Pemberton could win. Maybe Jake Finch could sneak up there and get the win. I mean, we were really awarded a unique situation of possible entries of who could win this race. So we got back to green. The 71 and the 25 were both done for the day at this point. Still had 26 cars on the track. Got back going green again, and holy crap, you talk about on a mission. The 18 had driven through the field. Same with the 20. They were really close to actually unlapping themselves. Had the 18 of Sammy Smith unlapped himself under green, there's no way he would have caught him all the way back around. There's no way without a caution he would have caught him. But the 18 had pretty much made it up to second place on track, still a lap down, but second place. He was directly behind the 51. The 20 had made it up to about 5th position on track. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to see the race go green. I wanted to really see if the 18 could somehow unlap himself, drive all the way around the track, and somehow catch him back. That would have been pretty cool to see. But it's the ARCA West Series. You almost got to expect that there was going to be a caution. And sure enough, just 12 laps later, as Andres Perez de Lara was leading over Landon Pemberton and Parker Chase, that we had a caution. The 21 of RJ Smotherman lost the ignition and was stopped on track. Tough end of the season for the Blue Valor Whiskey Racing Team, one of the coolest underdog teams in the ARCA West Series. So it sucks to see them their day end early. And, that still left over 30 laps for the 18 of Sammy Smith. With the field now down to 25 cars and some of the lappers already letting him go by, realistically, Sammy Smith was already starting in 20th place. So, yeah, that was that. 18 got the free pass. Andres continued to lead for another 4 laps, and then we had the 70. This was kind of the sad moment of the race. The 70 of Kyle Keller got into an accident. I don't know if I remember who with, but suffered pretty decent damage to the left front on track, and unfortunately was done for the day. That was the Kurt Busch Chris Trickle throwback car, a really beautiful, beautiful paint scheme. And unfortunately was crashed very heavily. Their day was done. Kind of sucks for Kyle Keller, man. You know, he had that full-time deal at the beginning of the West Series season, and then it went belly up. It went belly up on him. He found another deal with Jerry Pitts Racing and really made the most of it. And that 12 car did a great job. And I hope Kyle Keller does get another chance next season. So that put both the 18 and the 20 back on the lead lap. The one thing, though, that was hurting them, though, was the series of cautions. Would they still have enough time to get there? But it was clear Sammy Smith was not going to have any possible hurting getting up there. As coming off the lap 81 restart, Sammy Smith went from fourth all the way to first, easily took the lead. So unfortunately for people like me who wanted to see Andres get the win, now Sammy Smith, you just weren't going to stop him. Just 30 laps, he went from a lap down back to the lead. The 20 of Jesse Love was even able to make it back up into the top 10 as well, or back up to second place as well in the final couple laps. 6 laps later, we had, unfortunately, kind of the moment that made me sad was Bobby Hillis. Luckily didn't hit the wall, but I think he flat spotted his tires, and I think he just decided to park it after that, not risk tearing up the car. They would retire shortly after that. Would run 2 more laps until we had another yellow for, who guessed it, Christian Rose. And at this point, I was just like, man, Christian Rose, man, I love the guy, but goddamn, dude. I mean, come on, man. And you got to be better than that. I mean, so many incidents this season, man. It's just, you can't even, when you can count more incidents than fingers, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? So, I don't know. But yeah, Christian Rose brought out 2 separate incidents. That brought out a late race restart with Sammy Smith. And even with Jesse Love right there challenging him, you weren't going to get him. Sammy Smith easily cruises to the victory. Is this, I believe that's his very first West Series victory. West Series victory, the 10th one overall this season. Very impressive season for Sammy Smith. ARCA E Series champion, ARCA E Series owners champion, ARCA main series owners champion, and wins in all 3 divisions. A very impressive season, and I think it's the best way for Kyle Busch to go out in ARCA. Kyle Busch was here for 1 season in the ARCA Racing Series and really went out with a bang. Won 2 owners championships and 10 races. I don't think you can ask for anything better. I really don't think you can. That does beg the question, though. Kyle Busch did state when they announced the truck team operations for 2023, he did state that the ARCA team was just kind of a one-and-done deal. So KBM is no more. I want to say JGR will continue the ARCA team, but more than likely not on a full-time basis unless we hear more in the future. But yeah, so Sammy Smith wins. He led 75. Even despite the penalty, he led 75 of 107 laps, finishing first. Jesse Love was second. Andres Perez de Lara finishes a badass 3rd place. Landon Pemberton, I'll definitely say I'm shocked. Top 5 finish in the 55 entry, which normally is the 4th best Venturini car, but getting the best finish for Venturini. Top 5 finish. Todd Souza rallied up to 5th. Landon Lewis up to 6th. Bradley Erickson finished 7th, so good runs for some West Series teams. Parker Chase finished 8th. Jake Finch was 9th. And Tanner Reff, Sunrise Ford, was able to crack the top 10. Buddy Shepard was 11th. Tyler Reff, Tanner's brother, was 12th. Jake Drew down in 13th. Cole Moore was in 14th. Takuma Koga was 15th. Sebastian Arias was 16th. 16th. Bridget Burgess was 17th. Zach Heron was 18th. Katie Hedinger was 19th. David Smith was 20th. Christian Rose was 21st. Bobby Hillis was 22nd. Sean Hingarani was 23rd. Joey East was 24th. They both got swept up in crashes. Unfortunately, kind of sucks to see, Bradley Erickson had such a great run, but unfortunately, the 54 was just kind of the story of their year, bad luck. Kyle Keller was 25th. RJ Smotherman was 26th. 27th and 28th, Taylor Gray and Connor Jones. Carson Hocevar was 29th, and unofficially scored in 30th was Chris Loudon. The race itself, highly enjoyable. To be honest, I actually enjoyed this race a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought the race provided a lot of on-track action between the West Series. I'll definitely say the West Series guys really brought it. They really brought the competitiveness to these main series guys. They tried the best they could. Sammy Smith did have competition. I wish the 71 had not gotten taken out like he did, and I would love to have seen what they could have done going back-to-back with each other. But yeah, good race. I definitely say great way to end the West Series season. All three ARCA divisions, in my opinion, had great years. Even the East Series, they had a couple of meh races, but I definitely say 2022 was a great overall season for ARCA. Everybody in the ARCA Racing Series, Menard Series, got to get that sponsor in there. ARCA Menard Series should be proud of themselves from the East Division, Main Division, and the West Series Division. Everyone did a great job. Lots of great racing, but all you're ever going to hear is people just crap on the circuit, and to me, it's a shame. And that's one of the main reasons why I started this podcast. Just tired of seeing people crap on this series. And I'm glad that, we have people, who join me every week. Like I thank all of you guys who join me in the chat. And I thank the rest of you who watch this podcast afterwards who, care about this series. It means a lot to me. And I'm sure it means a lot to the people of ARCA that, there's still a big fan base for this series. There's a lot more fans of ARCA than people think really are. And it's just a fun series to support. It really, really is. Our final point standings for this race. Of course, like I said, Jake Drew would win the championship. Tanner Ref was able to hang on for second place. Cole Moore did hang on. Cole Moore actually did not hang on, unfortunately, to third. Todd Souza, by virtue of finishing 9 positions ahead of him, I believe Todd Souza actually took over third place. In the championship. The ARCA Series is honestly better than the Truck Series. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I'll definitely say that the ARCA Series had some better races than the Truck Series. That's for sure. But yeah, so Joey East was 5th. Takuma Koga was 6th. Bridget Burgess was 7th. Landon Lewis was 8th. Andrew Tuttle was 9th. And PJ Pedroncelli was 10th in the ARCA West Series points. Sunrise Ford Racing swipes the Owners' Championships. And going into 2023, Bill McNally Racing will look for that illustrious 100th career series win, as they are now at number 99 after that win at Roseville a couple weeks ago. So the 2023 ARCA West Series will definitely look a lot different. No Sunrise Ford Racing. Definitely expect Bill McNally's team to be there. I wouldn't be shocked if the Naki Kluwer team expands to maybe a second full-time car. I wouldn't be shocked if they buy some cars from Sunrise Ford Racing. The Pedroncellis will be back next year. A lot of people were a little concerned about how the West Series would look next season. I think they'll be just fine. We'll just have to see. That stupid quote you always hear, let it play out. I think that's the quote we're just going to have to really look at for the West Series and for the 2023 ARCA Series as a whole. Like I said, we really won't see. It really won't be until the Daytona test is when we'll probably see some the main 2023 series news and notes come out. But until then, we can pretty much just speculate. What we're going to see and then roll with that. Yeah, and that's kind of the 2023 ARCA season as a whole. I do plan on trying to get some guests on the show. I can definitely tell you right now, we are speaking to guys like Frog Hall. I don't know if you guys know who Frog Hall is. He was a driver in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm also announcing that we will be doing a most popular driver poll. I know the ARCA Series doesn't do most popular driver awards, but I will be creating some polls and posting them on my Twitter that anyone can vote at. Anyone can vote at. You only get one entry per poll of who is your most popular driver in the main series ARCA, East Series ARCA, and West Series ARCA. I'll be posting those very soon, maybe within the next week or so, because I want to see who do you guys think is the most popular driver in the ARCA Series. And of course, for the rest of this year, it's just kind of on and off news. We will do an ARCA Racing podcast when The 2023 schedules are out, but I have no idea when that is. No idea. Yeah, and maybe it's just random driver interviews, other stuff like that. Even though this is the last ARCA race review and race preview podcast of the season, we're not going away for the season. We're not going away for the winter. We're just we won't be on as much. How about that? We got our season finale of Backmarker Battles tomorrow, so still join me for that. But in terms of ARCA podcast weekly, this will be the last one for now until the season will start back up with the ARCA testing next season, and then of course we will be at Daytona next season for that one as well. So until then, I've been Colby Evans. I want to thank you guys again for joining me through this whole season of ARCA East, Main, and West Series podcasts. You guys are the best. You guys make this possible, and we will catch y'all in the next show, whether that be the Daytona test coming up or some driver interviews in the future. So till then, have a great Wednesday night. We'll see you all here tomorrow for Backmarker Battles, and take care. So long, guys.